The night was quiet, just the low hum of the city and the occasional flicker of red and blue lights reflecting off the pavement. Officer Jake Holloway never thought a routine traffic stop would lead to this, a small, unmarked box sitting on the hood of his patrol car. Something about it felt off. The driver, a well-dressed man with cold eyes, had been oddly calm when Jake pulled him over, too calm. Now, as Jake cracked open the box, a thick glass bottle sloshed inside, the dark liquid shifting under the glow of his flashlight. His gut told him to stop, but it was too late. The moment he touched it, a chill ran down his spine. This wasn't just any liquid, it was something powerful, something dangerous. And worse, it belonged to someone with the kind of influence that could end careers, maybe even lives. Jake swallowed hard, his fingers tightening around the box. The label on the bottle was missing, but the way the liquid clung to the glass made his stomach twist. He'd been a cop long enough to know that some things were better left untouched. But now he was in it. Whatever this was, it wasn't just illegal, it was important to someone powerful. The man he'd pulled over, still leaning against his sleek black car, watched him closely, a faint smirk playing on his lips. "Careful, officer," he said smoothly. "That's not for just anyone." His voice was calm, but there was a warning underneath it, something unspoken but heavy. Jake's radio crackled, but he barely heard it. His mind raced. What had he just stumbled into? Drugs? Evidence of something bigger? And more importantly, who exactly was this man who spoke with the confidence of someone who owned the city? Jake's pulse pounded in his ears. He had two choices: play it safe and let this man go, or push further and risk stepping into something way over his head. The man adjusted his cufflinks, his confidence unshaken, as if he knew exactly what Jake was thinking. "You should close that box, officer," he said, his voice cool and measured. "Walk away while you still can." Jake glanced at the bottle again. If this was just contraband, why the warning? Why the calm arrogance? He'd dealt with criminals before, dealers, traffickers, corrupt officials. But something about this man felt different. He didn't act like someone afraid of the law. He acted like someone above it. Jake's radio crackled again. "Holloway, status." He hesitated before responding. If he called this in, it wouldn't just be his problem anymore. But if he didn't, what exactly was he getting himself into? Jake's grip tightened around the radio, but he didn't answer. His instincts screamed at him. This was bigger than him, bigger than just a routine stop. The man in front of him wasn't nervous, wasn't pleading or making excuses like most people caught in a bad situation. No, he was waiting, measuring Jake's every move. The street was too quiet. Jake felt the weight of unseen eyes on him, like this moment had already been decided before he even pulled the man over. He looked down at the bottle again. Maybe it was evidence of something corrupt, something that could expose more than just one crime. Maybe it was leverage, power in liquid form. But whose power? The man stepped closer, his voice just above a whisper. "You don't want to be the guy who asks the wrong questions, Officer Holloway." Then, out of the corner of his eye, Jake saw movement. Someone else was here, watching, waiting. And that's when he realized he wasn't the one in control anymore. Jake barely had time to react before a second car rolled up, its headlights off, engine humming like a quiet threat. His hand hovered near his holster, but he didn't move. The air had shifted. This wasn't just a traffic stop anymore. This was a setup. The man in front of him smirked, glancing at the new arrival like he'd been expecting it. "You're in deeper than you realize, officer," he said, his voice almost amused. "And now you have a choice to make." The driver's side door of the second car opened, and a tall figure stepped out, his face shadowed under the dim streetlights. But Jake knew power when he saw it. This wasn't just another player. This was the man pulling the strings, the one who owned the city's secrets. Jake's heartbeat pounded in his ears. If he backed down now, he might walk away with his career intact. But if he pushed forward, he wasn't sure he'd walk away at all. Jake's breath was steady, but his mind raced. The man in the second car stepped forward, his presence heavy, commanding. Even in the dim light, Jake could see the sharp gaze that cut right through him. This wasn't just another powerful figure. This was the kind of man who decided what laws actually mattered. The first man, still leaning against his car, crossed his arms. "I told you to walk away, officer. But now you are in the room." His smirk faded, and there's no easy way out. Jake felt the weight of the bottle still in his hand. He had two choices: hand it over and pretend none of this ever happened, or take a stand and risk everything. His radio crackled again, but this time another voice came through. One he didn't recognize. "Officer Holloway, we have eyes on you. Stand down." Jake stiffened. Who was watching? His own department? Or someone else? The second man finally spoke, his voice smooth, controlled. "You were never in control of this situation," he said, "but you can still make the right choice." Jake's gut twisted. The right choice? For whom? Then it hit him. This wasn't about the liquid in the bottle. It was about him. A test. A trap. A warning. Slowly, he closed the box and set it on the hood. His heart pounded, but his voice was steady. "I don't think I saw anything worth reporting," he said. The man studied him for a long moment, then nodded. "Smart." As Jake stepped back, the second car's engine revved, and just like that, they were gone. No threats, no violence, just a message sent and received. But as Jake watched them disappear into the night, one thought lingered. If they knew his name, his routine, his choices, then this wasn't over. It was just beginning. Jake stood there for a long moment, the weight of the night settling on his shoulders. The street was quiet again, but everything had changed. His hands felt empty without the box, but his mind was full of questions. Who was really pulling the strings? How deep did this go? And most importantly, why had they let him walk away? His radio crackled once more. "Holloway, report." He hesitated before pressing the button. Just a routine stop, nothing to report. The words felt heavy, but they were the only ones that made sense. As he got back into his patrol car, he glanced in the rearview mirror, half expecting to see another shadow watching from the darkness. But there was nothing. Just him, the empty street, and the knowledge that he'd just been given a choice: play the game or get played. And for now, he had chosen to survive.